I've come to the conclusion that the defining characteristic of a socialist is the inability to learn anything if it contradicts his idealism. And a good example of socialists not having learnt anything may be found in a campaign that the Guardian newspaper ran, well, almost exactly 20 years ago. Probably some of the people from the Labour Party who are now heading over to America to help with the Harris campaign might not even have been alive when the Guardian debacle happened. But that's no excuse. We have the internet, and I have the web page. I'm Granniopteryx. I'm on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute, and Minds. So, the Trump campaign has accused UK's Labour Party of election interference. What's happened is that I believe something like 100 Labour Party supporters are or have headed to America or are heading to America to help with the campaign. Like anyone in America needs the help of a bunch of limeys. Labour said in a statement that any party members taking part would be doing so at their own expense, and volunteers were put up by other local supporters. Starmer said they were there in their spare time. But I'm sorry, that doesn't wash. I mean, technically it may be right, but it's like a lot of other things with the Labour Party. Technically, they weren't taking bribes when they accepted clothes and theatre tickets. But we all know what it looked like. Now, is Trump going to forgive them for this? I shouldn't think so. And frankly, I hope he doesn't, because they deserve everything they get. Electioneering row with possibly future US president could have wider implications for the security of Western Europe. I'm not so sure that's the case, but the fact is that this guy will not be persona grata in the White House, and that's going to cause trouble. For us, principally, I'm sure of that. Sir Keir Starmer insists his good relationship with Donald Trump has not been affected by the row over Labour supporters campaigning for Kamala Harris. Yeah, well, whatever. As I've said, I am determined not to get her name right, so I do hope I got most of it wrong. The former and possibly future US president does not do nuance, and he's a world leader in the art of bearing grudges. And I don't blame him. Now, let me just draw something to your attention. The Labour Party has a long history of meddling or participating in American elections. There was this Game Changer, this book which I read. It was by Steve Howell, and it was about this party faithful man following the Corbyn election campaign in 2017. And at some point during, it's got a blessing from Owen Jones, hasn't it? Oh, well, yeah. That should tell us a lot about it. In 2017, there was an election campaign going on in America as well. And Howell mentions, just in passing, that his daughter was in America helping with that campaign. So this sort of thing has been going on for a while. And then in 2004, there was an election. It was Bush and Cheney against Kerry and Edwards. Yeah, John Kerry. Now, John Kerry, this John Kerry.
There will be no separate peace between Israel and the Arab world. I want to make that very clear to all of you. I've heard several prominent politicians in Israel sometimes saying well, the Arab world's in a different place now. We just have to reach out to them and we can work some things with the Arab world and we'll deal with the Palestinians. No, 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 and no. I can tell you that reaffirmed even in the last week as I have talked to leaders of the Arab community. There will be no advance and separate peace with the Arab world without the Palestinian process and Palestinian peace. Everybody needs to understand that. That is a hard reality.
That sage of the ages made that, and to think that he nearly became president of the United States, it makes one's blood run cold. But to get on to more amusing things, possibly one of the reasons at least that he didn't win has something to do with the Guardian's attempts to help his election campaign. What happened was that the Guardian gave Guardian readers a list of various people and organisations to whom they could write or otherwise communicate and tell them that they should vote for Kerry. And this was in a swing area called Clark County, and these are some of the letters that were sent in response to this. Dear wonderful loving friends from abroad, we Ohioans, I do apologise if I got that wrong, we Ohioans are an ornery sort and don't take meddling well, even if it comes from people we admire and with their sincere goodwill. We are fairly closed community overall in my town of Springfield. I feel that there are some that consider people from the nearby cities of Columbus or Dayton as foreigners, let alone someone from outside our country. Well, that was quite polite. On the other hand, have you not noticed? No, let's try this again. Have you not noticed that Americans don't give two shits what Europeans think of us? Each email someone gets from some arrogant Brit telling us why not to vote for George Bush is going to backfire, you stupid yellow-toothed pansies. I don't give a rat's ass if our election is going to have an effect on your worthless little life. I really don't. If you want to have a meaningful election in your crappy little island full of shitty food and yellow teeth, then maybe you should try not to sell your sovereignty out to Brussels and Berlin, dipshit. Oh yeah, and brush your goddamn teeth, you filthy animals. Right. Well, that was a bit of sophisticated banter from Wading River, NY. And yeah, I don't like the way Americans are always talking about British teeth. I've lived in America and some of the teeth there are absolutely terrifying. So yeah, but as for the rest of what he had to say, I understand the sentiment, even if I don't agree with the insults. Another one was, should I read this? Keep your fucking limey hands off our election. Hey, shitheads, remember the Revolutionary War? Remember the War of 1812? Well, 1812, you didn't do so well on that, but I'll let that pass. We didn't want you or your politics here. That's why we kicked your asses out. For the 47% of you who don't want President Bush, I say this. Tough shit. Proud American voting for Bush. All right. And another one, which I'm not going to parody. Shame on you for using the people of Ohio like this. And that is absolutely right. Spot on. The US presidential election isn't just about foreign policy. It's about healthcare, taxes, education, transportation, natural resources, and all manner of issues with little to no impact on the people of Britain. That's a very moderate and absolutely spot on letter. I could not agree with whoever wrote this more. And yeah, okay, how about this? Real Americans aren't interested in your pansy-ass tea-sipping opinions. If you want to save the world, begin with your own worthless corner of it. Yeah, quite right. And this: I just read your hilarious proposal to involve your readership in the upcoming US election. At least I'm hoping that it is genius satire. Nothing will do more to undermine the Democratic cause in Ohio than having patronising Brits wander around Clark County telling people how to vote. And absolutely, and that's exactly what's going to happen to the Harris campaign. As soon as that English voice comes down the line, you're going to get that. Just for a second, imagine if the Washington Post sent folks from Ohio to do the same in Oxfordshire. I'm saying this as a Democrat and as someone who spent the last few years in the UK. That is, with all due respect, please be rational and move slowly away from the self-defeating hubris. I love this one. My dear beloved Brits, I understand The Guardian is sponsoring a service where British citizens write to Americans to advise them on how to vote. Thank heavens! I was adrift in a sea of confusion, and you are my beacon of hope. Who said that Americans don't get irony? Feel free to respond to this email with your advice. Please keep in mind I'm something of an Anglophile, so this is not confrontational. Please remember too, I am merely an American. That means I'm not very bright. It means I have no culture or sense of history. It also means that I'm barely literate. So please don't use big fancy words. Set me straight, folks. I don't know if you're watching this now, this guy from Dayton, Ohio. You are a genius. You're absolutely right to be angry, and you should be angry about what's going on here as well. And this guy here is saying a Labour activist put party before country in endorsing Kamala. Yeah, because what's going to happen is Kamala's going to lose big time. Trump's going to get in. It's going to cause rifts with our country and yours. As some of you don't know, I went to two universities in America, both in California, I regret to say, but that was at a time when California was a nice place to be. And I have a great deal of affection, not only for America, but American saddles as well. As you know, I'm a horse rider, and I have a great deal of an admiration for the Western saddle, although a lot of people here in this country get quite snobbish about it. The Goodnight saddle, the best in the world, really fantastic saddle. Okay, so there we are. I just had to point out that to anyone who is incensed at the Labour Party activists going to try to bolster up the Harris campaign, I'm incensed too. Believe me, I'm incensed. I'm just curling up with embarrassment. So please forgive me. Please forgive all the people in Britain who think that those guys are a bunch of meddling, interfering ideologues. Please accept my apologies for our tone-deaf government, and good luck in the elections. Till next time. You can help my channel by subscribing and clicking the notification bell. That's quite important. And by sharing if you're so inclined. Links to my other channels and to donation methods are in the description. But the best way you can help is simply by clicking like and notify. Thank you.